Today we're going to be looking at Tintoretto's The Last Supper, and more specifically how this perspective of the Last Supper differs from the many others. Being painted in the early 1590s, Jacopo Tintoretto's rendition of The Last Supper is of the late Renaissance. It is a dark, intimate depiction of the meal, foreshadowing the oncoming era of Baroque art that would soon take over almost all of Europe. So to set the scene for those who aren't familiar with this story, I'll give a very brief recap. On the eve of the crucifixion, Jesus holds a banquet amongst his disciples. Two major events that this scene is known for is the beginning of the Eucharist, a tradition that is still being practiced today, and the reveal that someone at that very table had betrayed him and that he would soon be condemned to death. This particular oil painting captures the moment that Jesus breaks bread and first shares it with his disciples. Given the description and pivotal nature of this moment, I've always envisioned a small, dimly lit room that feels more like a private event, something Tintoretto perfectly captures here. Stark lighting contrasts and deep shadows create an air of intensity that immediately evokes a deep sense of importance. The lighting itself comes from Jesus' halo and the audience in heaven pictured in the upper left corner of the ceiling, a detail that further adds to the reverence of the scene while maintaining the closeness the viewer feels by being placed in the corner of this room. Tintoretto's stylings become even more pronounced when compared to his contemporaries, particularly the most famous rendition of The Last Supper, done by Leonardo da Vinci. For his Last Supper, Da Vinci employs a linear composition, giving a much more controlled and symmetrical view of the situation. He also uses a lighter color palette and subtle lighting choices that convey the complex relationships between the disciples. The exact moment Da Vinci depicts is just after Jesus announces that someone has betrayed him. The commotion on display is a violent uproar of shouting and accusation from one end to the other, with the theme of subtlety being Da Vinci's calling card here, as it takes a few minutes to truly appreciate every detail and understand each disciple's intention. Da Vinci's Last Supper has remained so influential that it has maintained its popularity for over 500 years now, still being referenced throughout modern pop culture. And because of this, I've somewhat become overexposed to this particular portrayal of the moment, and it's become the default image that comes to mind for many when they think of the Last Supper. Each time I find such extreme variation between two accounts of the same event, it renews that sense of excitement in these stories that at times can feel as if they've been told ad nauseum, as they shape a whole new lens to view the tale. One presents the scene as something that is far away and out of reach, as the viewer looks on in reverence at an event that is arranged in orderly fashion despite the chaos that unfolds, and a century later, the story is told from within the room. You're up close and personal, being invited into this space to witness the ritual happen before you, while angels above remind you that this is a moment where heaven and earth stood still to watch. I think that's good. Each depiction has its own method of capturing your attention. Da Vinci constructs a widespread table that is well balanced, yet you notice there's something off, and as you look closer, you realize there is commotion amongst the attendees. Tintoretto's is more akin to a slap in the face, as the tension between the light and shadow is felt immediately, and it takes a moment to get past the bold coloring to further examine the painting's contents. Da Vinci's The Last Supper was done as a mural in Milan, where it can still be found today. It was commissioned by the ruler of Milan, Ludovico il Moro, in an effort to fully renovate the Dominican convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie. Ludovico was a major patron of Renaissance art and wanted the scene of the Last Supper to decorate the dining hall of the church. In addition to its use as inspiration for the Dominican friars as they contemplated the biblical tale, the artwork, along with the larger renovation of the church, was done to establish Milan as a cultural center of Italy to compete with Florence, as well as glorify the Sforza dynasty and legitimize his rule. His efforts were successful as his name is cemented in history in relation to Da Vinci's work and its impact on art history. Just 3 hours to the east, Jacopo Tintoretto's interpretation can be found on a small island in Venice. Throughout his career, he completed several variations of the Last Supper, though this, his most famous, was commissioned by the monastery of Basilica di San Giorgio Maggiore. Similar to Santa Maria, San Giorgio Maggiore was just remodeled, with space left for the artwork to inspire the people of the church. The monks themselves were more involved in this instance, as they requested an emotionally powerful depiction of the First Eucharist to reinforce the importance of the sacrament that would be practiced just directly in front of it.